Hi and welcome back to another video of jPlay. I am Marcus and today I'm doing a solo playthrough of Coloma. Yes, I got this through a trade, so I didn't back the Kickstarter back then. For whatever reason it flew under my radar. I'm really happy I kind of discovered it a little bit later. We played it in the family several times already. I also played the solo game once at least against Sam. That's the solo AI player's name if I recall that correctly. I didn't do bad necessarily, but I didn't win either. So there's really a lot going on in this one. So yeah, let's see how things go, shall we? Okay, and here we are. This is the setup for the solo game, which is really not different to a two-player game. So we will have Buster with us. He's really there when you play with two or one player. He's simply there to bust the spaces, the action spaces here on the board, to really make a little bit more competition around those action, or in this action wheel here. We will play against Sam, and we will have a female Sam, and Sam can be both, I guess. So Sam will be the red AI player. We will play as blue. Goal of the game is, after 3 rounds, having the most amount of victory points, most likely Sam. Buster isn't doing really anything, so we are not really competing against Buster. He's really only there to make our lives down here potentially a little bit more tricky. These are our starting cards. You usually start the game with 6 and then you have to discard down to 4. And discarding in this game is very interesting because you put them back to your draw pile, either on top or to the bottom of the deck. So there is not really a discard pile available. It works pretty well actually, and we have, I think, a good mixture of buildings we can build, and most likely will be one of the first things that we are going to do. I will explain the game as I go, as usual, and basically how a round works is we go through 5, let's call it turns in a round. At the end of a round there will be a shootout against those outlaws. Right now there are 2. These could be more towards the end of the game, and then we will basically go into round number 2 and do the same thing again. After 3 rounds we will tally up our score. The majority of victory points, at least for the human player in this case, most likely will get scored towards the end of the game. Sam, the AI player, will definitely score a hell of a lot of points throughout the game. So that's definitely a difference to the normal, let's say, competitive mode of the game. But again, I will explain everything as I go. And I guess with that being said, yeah, let's get right to it. Sam will be the starting player, and we have this very heavy-duty metal starting player badge here. Looks very nice, but before we do any player actions or dealing with Buster's deck, we will move this so-called, I think, Barker tile one step ahead. And this is really a magnet. This works so cool, really so nicely designed. Love this a lot. So there are no mechanical pieces whatsoever. It simply works. So we are now moving from 5 to 1. So 1 will be our very first event in this case, and all those events are good, so nothing bad will happen here. In this case it's only an event that triggers for human players, so for us in this case, which means we will collect 2 extra dudes. If we would build a tent later on, we would get that benefit twice. That's 4. So having a tent here, usually not a bad thing, but for now I'm not complaining. We start the game with 2 dudes. We have 1 gold nugget and 1 tent and 1 horse here. We explain those components again as I go. So for this first event we are getting 2 extra dudes, which we really need, that's for sure. On top of this we are also starting with 2 coins, and these are really also heavy duty poker chips. Like those a lot. The next thing to do is to shuffle Buster's little deck. This deck is, I think, 5 cards and shows pretty much a representation for each of the spaces on the action wheel. 2 of those, in this case that's the 3 and the 1. We know where Buster is not going, but we also know that to one of those locations Sam will go to. So we will then throw a coin and determine on where Sam will go. The problem is we have to make the decision to where we would go, and wherever there is the majority of, let's say, our workers, or not really workers, our figures here later on, this location will bust and will definitely provide us, I think, a little bit less opportunities or choices on what we can do. It's not the worst thing in the world, but usually you want to have the full deal available to you. Problem is, again, now we have to make our choice first. Here we have a 50-50 chance that we will bust because, yeah, here we know Sam will go to either of those locations. The remaining 3 is basically one of those cards Buster will go to. So here we have a 1 out of 3 chances that we will bust. And usually you really want to start building first, but there is a high probability that Sam will go there too. But maybe it's not the worst thing in the world going there anyway, because when you bust, it's also detrimental for Sam. So sometimes that's also not a bad thing. So I guess, do we want to stick to the plan? Yeah, why not? So yeah, we will commit ourselves to location number 3, which is building. We can take, in theory, up to 2 building actions there, depending on what buildings you have. But right now we don't have any buildings, so maximum will be 2. But it could be that Sam will show up here too, and then yeah, something bad will happen. Basically, we are moving this bust thing there, which will then make us lose this bottom. I think it's the boom action. Here's the common action, and that's the boom action, something of a bonus. But let's see where Sam is going. We will throw this coin. This coin is a little bit cheap. Here I'm a bit disappointed. It's still a plastic coin, but it would be really cool if that would have been a metal coin. Maybe I'm going to replace that sooner or later. But it really helps you because this guy, he's looking to the right. So if this side comes up, Sam will go for location number 3. If the other side will come up, she's looking to the left, we know that Sam will go there. So let's simply flip this coin. Yes, of course. Yeah. Sam will go to location number 3, pretty much to us, but this also means it doesn't really matter where Buster is going. So let's reveal that Buster is going to location number 2. But again, this doesn't really matter because he's not taking any action. So Sam will come to us, which means this location is now busted because it has the majorities of our figures here, of the figures here. Keep in mind that Sam and Buster, because of the way we are dealing with those cards, will never be at the same location. So they will never interfere with each other. So it's either Sam or Buster who's going after me. Of course, Sam could in theory go to the location where this bust tile here is, but that's might happen sooner or later, but then Sam will go there anyway. So again, Buster will not do any actions. Then we will move to location number 3. Nothing will happen here and here and there. For example, we always take them from 1, basically 2, 3, 4, and 5. And in this case, we are dealing with a building action. Because Sam is the starting player, she will do her action first. And she also only gets 1 action. Because again, this is busted now. But it's still bad enough because Sam will now go to the hotel, or will buy a hotel here. Normally, and this is an optional component for at least for the 2 or let's say multiplayer game. In a solo game, you always have to play with a hotel. So what Sam is now doing, she's grabbing one of those hotels. She's not doing anything with that. Normally you as a player would get 8 points. Unfortunately, Sam will score an immediate 12 points for that. And that's pretty much simulating that if you would build the hotel, you have had possibilities placing dudes there and score some more points. That's the reason why she gets 12 points right off the bat. Good thing is, again, she's not taking the boom action. The boom action would simply give her 6 more points. We are losing 6 points because we would have been able to build twice there too, but I think overall, yeah, it's a wash. I had to take a risk, but it's now over to us. And again, we are going to build one of our buildings. In theory, we could also go for an hotel down there, but I think we really want to build buildings because those buildings usually strengthen your normal action. That's what you really need to do, especially when playing against Sam. And again, we have a strange or interesting mixture of cards. Usually, I would like to start with a shovel action, for example, or a card that strengthen our shovel action, which happens at location number 1. But in this case, we might want to go with that because you really also want to build cards, which also gives you something if you're at the busted location. So let's say we would be there and we would see the X, we could still take an action here. So those are really extremely powerful, especially when playing against Sam. Because in this case, you really block Sam, but you get to do stuff at least. Right now, we really lost our second action. So I think, yeah, let's go for it. So we will build the horse ranch because we will go there sooner or later anyway. We have to go with the hammer action right now because that's the action that's available to us. The saw action is the boom action on this space. So we have to spend 2 of our dudes. They go back to the supply, and we have to spend 2 of our dollars. And this allows us to build this card, and at the end of the game, this will score us 6 points. That's also not a bad thing. Okie dokie, that's already the end of the round. We will go back. This bus tile will go back to the starting position. We will move into the next turn, which means we will move the Barker tile. We will trigger this event down here. In this case, we will get 1 golden nugget. So we are at 2, which is not bad. Thing is, as part of setup, Sam already starts with a tent here and also a tent up there. But in this case, again, he gets, or she gets this bonus here twice, which means she will now score or get 2 gold nuggets, which she will either trade in here, but this also gives her some more victory points if she ever goes to location number 1, for example. Then we will shuffle or reshuffle the cards for Buster again, and then yeah, rinse and repeat, do the same thing as we did the last turn. So I have shuffled those, so these are the 2 cards, so we will go to 4 or 5. So we know, I really wanted to location. This is so bad. I was really planning on going here, and oh wow, this is really terrible. And this could be our second best guess actually to go there, but right now we know that either of those 2 will be visited by Sam too. Oh, this is such a bad start. Okay, so we have to make a choice now, but I think I will stick to the plan going to location number 4, because again, we have built this building here, and even if this one busts now, we get something out of this. So I think, yeah, I think this could be beneficial to us. Problem is we will run out of cards relatively quickly, so we have to do something about that too. We will draw 2 more cards here, so I think overall that's also not too bad, but I guess that's still the best bet. Again, the second best would be to go here, but this is also a risk, and if we would lose this tent here, that's really terrible. I really don't want to do that. No, let's stay on target. Let's see where Sam is moving to. And okay, in this case, again, she goes to location number 5. Maybe I should roll a die in future, but that's okay. I think there is still no, I think there's no risk, because again, the other locations, that's where we are again. So it doesn't matter where Buster is going. He's going to location number 1, but again, not taking any actions there. And actually having Sam here at this point in time is beneficial. I think that's a good deal. So Buster will go to location number 1, not going to do anything. No one at location 2, no one at location 3. We are here at location number 4. Now we have basically both of those actions available to us. And for each card or coach symbol that we are seeing, we can basically move our little coach 1 space. 1 space because we currently only have 1 horse. But we have the horse range, which means we can also now trigger this ability. We are here at location number 4, and we are taking this action. And you always have to decide, let's say, if you want to take the bottom, so the common actions first, or the bottom actions first. So that's either the boom action, or in this case, it's the bust action. Right now, there is no bust, so we cannot take this action here. Right now, we have the standard boom action. So we only can trigger this, but we get to choose the order in which we are doing these things. And I think in this case, we want to spend 1 card in order to get an extra horse, which is definitely a good thing. And I guess I want to get rid of this Undertaker here, because this lets us remove horses, and I don't want to bury horses. And so we have triggered this, and this gives us an immediate horse, which means we can now move, for each coach symbol we are seeing, we can now move 2 spaces or up to 2 spaces. And again, we can do that twice. We have triggered this ability here first, so the common action, so we have to resolve this one. For location number 4, it doesn't really matter because both of those are the same. And so I will trigger our first movement, and that's 2 steps. So 1 and 2 steps, for example, could be here. This gives us an immediate 2 dudes. Even though we are only passing over it, we still get the bonus for that. So that's huge. The problem is this horseshoe here doesn't give us anything, but we have a second movement and we have 2 horses. So again, we can move 1, 2 spaces here to Georgetown. We get the 2 extra dudes here right off the bat. I think that's really working out pretty great, actually. And now as we ended our move in Georgetown, we can do either one of those. So we can go for 4 extra dudes, which is really huge, because then we no longer have to care about dudes at all. Or we could go for the rightmost action. But again, you only get to take this rightmost action if you end your movement on this space. And getting a barrel is also not a bad thing, because we could get these bonuses here immediately. This would give us a horse. Here we would get 2 gold nuggets, also never a bad thing. Here we could go for 3 cards, and we can trade in cards for valuable actions, so that might not be the worst thing in the world. This barrel is great, gives us 2 extra dudes, and we could immediately place dudes at the shootout range, which is also fantastic actually. So I'm really considering to go there, if I'm completely honest. Yeah, let's take this barrel here. We will trigger this barrel right away. We can do that by flipping it over. We keep the barrel. So first of all, we will get 2 more dudes. This is the left hand action on this barrel, and for the second, we can now send dudes to the shootout, and I guess I want to do that. And yeah, for now, I'm okay being second. Maybe we want to go to location number... I know that Sam is going there now too, as far as I know. Yeah, I think she will go there too. So no, I think this was even perfect that we were sending our dudes there. On the other hand, we know now that Sam will fill up this space, but that's okay. No, I think that's okay. We will use it this way. That's perfectly fine, because we have taken this barrel off, which means we have to add an extra outlaw here to the shootout range. You see that little symbol there, but again, we get to keep this barrel, and yeah, we will replenish right away. And oh, for this barrel, we can basically take a saw action for the build. Oh, that's great. Getting extra action is always nice for those. And I guess those were all of our actions there. Great. So that was us. We moved once, we moved twice, and we used our horse range. Oh, perfect. Then we are dealing with Sam here at location number 5. And for her first action, she would normally pitch a tent here in the frontier land. The problem is at Coloma, there are no adjacent frontier lands. You see these little red arrows, so I could pitch a tent here. Here you could pitch a tent here, but right now out of Coloma she cannot do that. So perfect, she's pretty much forfeiting this common action. That's really great. For her second action, so for the boom action, she will basically send dudes to the shootout range, and she will always go to the lowest or to the row with the lowest dudes that are required. In this case, this will be this space. So right now we are winning this shootout. We have more dudes here than there are outlaws, so that's good. We are not winning this as a blue player, but again, we have this neutral player, who's always there when you play with 2 players, so never move away. But overall, I think that was a pretty successful turn. Yeah. So yeah, let's basically reset the board. So everyone will go back accordingly. We will move over to this event space. This event is also only good for us. In this case, we will simply draw 2 more cards. That's the boarding house. Oh, spending now a card to get 2 extra meeples, dudes. That's pretty cool. Second card is when we survey for river, we get some extra coins. But also, in order to spend cards, so we definitely need to get some building which gives us extra cards. And they're really great cards in this deck, which gives you just this. We were unfortunately simply not lucky enough to draw those. But yeah, that's this game really. You have to adapt your strategy from game to game. This is really very depending on what you draw. And this is what I really like about this game. You cannot really always go for the same thing. You can really work out. It's not really that you just bad luck and you will lose the game. It's just that you have to adapt your strategy to respond to the cards you have available to you. Really works out pretty well in this game. Okay, same procedure as last year. We will draw 2 buster cards. Okay, that's 2 and 5 in this case. Again, it's the 5. We want to go to 5. Oh, that's terrible. I think I still will go there anyway. Yeah, again, I have to take the risk. And in theory, we can only win. Yeah, I think that's still fine. So we will move here to location number 5 because I want to pitch a tent to this location for now, because next time this event marker is moving, we will get $4 instead of only 2. This can be pretty huge, but let's see, where Sam is going to. Bam. Okay, yeah, he will join us at the party, or she will join us at the party. Sorry for that. She's a she. Come on. Maybe that's not the worst thing in the world. I was really hoping for this free tent down there, but yeah, that's not gonna happen. So we are basically have busted this side. It doesn't matter where Buster is going, so he will simply go here. But again, not taking any actions there. 2, 3, 4, 5. She will go first. We already know that. I think that's perfect actually, because her first action would be to pitch a tent. But yet again, she cannot do that because she's still here in Coloma. Okay, that worked out pretty perfect actually. Great stuff. It's now over to us. So for the common action, we can do both of those things. So here we can pitch a tent, and I think again the idea was to do that. Yeah, let's totally do that. So right now we have one tent. We will place it here. I think you can barely see that, but that's good enough. So we get some extra cash here. And this symbol here means we could yet again send some more dudes here to the shootout, and the next amount of meeples would be 4. This would really guarantee us some more stuff. And maybe if I would have thought this through properly, I would have sent immediately 4 dudes here actually. Maybe I really should have done that. When I've taken that barrel action, I should really immediately have sent 4, because now I'm really sending 6, which could be kind of an overkill. But let's look at the benefits or the awards for the winner of this shootout. So pretty much who sent the most amount of dudes there. So that's he could become, or he or she could become starting player. That's maybe not that. We could gain 3 gold nuggets and we would gain 6 victory points. On the other hand, second place would be 2 gold and 3 victory points. So I'm not quite sure if we should send now really 4 more. On the other hand, we would now forfeit an additional action. Oh, this was really stupid. I really should have sent 4 dudes here to the shootout. This was so stupid, Marcus. You got those guys. I'm really short-sighted. I think second place is okay, because I'm pretty sure, I mean, there's always a chance she goes there too, Sam, again, and will spend, but that's also not the worst thing in the world, because she will lose those dudes. The more she sends there, the more she will lose towards the end of the game. And then, yeah, of course, she would gain a hell of a lot of victory points. But again, that's not that big of a deal. And having those extra dudes now, really, we might not need to go for extra dudes. No, I'm not going to. No, I'm not. I think for now, I will take the chances, and maybe we will be second here, which is, in my mind, good enough. No, we will forfeit this. So end of the round, we will all move back. And let me know if you don't want to talk me through my thoughts here. So I can do this off camera and think about that. Just let me know if you think, come on, stop talking, start playing. That's fine. So we are basically moving into the 4th turn of this round. So we have now built a tent here, which means we get $4 instead of 4. And really look at those, they're really heavy, like those a lot. Sam is not going to get anything there. She only really benefits from events here at space 5 and 2 in this case. That's where she has her tents. And then, yeah, I think we have to deal with Buster's deck again. So let's see what he's up to. Location 3 and location number 4. We don't want to go to either of those, I guess. No, we don't. I think that's okay. So we do know that we might only, quote unquote, compete with Buster during this turn. 1 out of 3 chances here. And I guess we either want to go here again, but then again, we will not send dudes here. We would get an extra tent and we could place the tent. That's usually not a bad thing too. But I think surveying a river and or building a bridge could be huge, actually. Yeah, I think let's do that. We have the dudes. That was one of the main reasons why I held on to my dudes, actually. So I think, yeah, let's go in here. Doesn't really matter where Sam is going, so it's either 3 or 4. But of course, yeah, it will matter in respect to what actions he's going to do. So let's flip that coin and let me know if you would prefer me rolling a die. So she's going to location number 4, which in this case is the Barker location, which could be bad, I think, because she's getting a horse. Horses are not that big of a deal, but she also gets a barrel and adding some more bandits. Okay, let's see about that. And then, yeah, let's simply see which location Buster is going, and he's going to location number 5. So that's fine. So he's not interfering with us. So in this case, this Buster will not move anywhere because there is no majority anywhere. So we will simply stay put here. And yeah, we will get to take our action here first. So again, we have a hammer action and a sword action. Right now, it doesn't matter in which order we are triggering those. Maybe it does in respect to what we are going to pay, but as we haven't surveyed any river yet, we cannot build a bridge. So that's the first thing we need to do anyway. But again, we can now decide to build survey the river with a saw instead of the hammer. And that would cost us only 1 go, and then that's what we are going to do. So we will spend 2 of our dudes, that's always the case, and we have to spend 1 of our gold nuggets. And this gold nugget doesn't go back to the supply, it goes to this nice card here, and only at the end of the round it goes back to the topmost. But I think we haven't triggered it yet, right? Usually there's also some points that Sam would take depending on how many gold nuggets are gone, but that's not gonna happen. So those dudes are out of here. We will take 1 of those river tokens and place it to 1 of our sites here. So we have to make a call. So this would give us 8 points at the end of the game. This would give us a barrel and 6 points at the end of the game. The problem now is normally I would totally go with a barrel, but I do know for a fact that Sam is also going to get a barrel. And then we would lose the gunfight, which might also not be the worst thing in the world, because then she wouldn't get any points there too. And maybe we do want to lose. If I'm third later on, I could lose some points. But then again, having some extra stuff here, this is cool too, but I don't want to move my card yet because I'm still feeling pretty okay where I am, because I could pitch a tent there. It's either this or that. And question is, if I would go here, there is some certainty we might win this shootout. On the other hand, I really do not care too much about this. No, I think we will go here. So we will survey this tile, which gives us yet again 1 of those barrels. And I think I want to have cards because I need to get cards to spend stuff. So I will go with this barrel now. Again, we can keep it. We will add 1 more bandit here to the shootout. Right now we are still outnumbering those, but yet again, Sam will also take a barrel. We will add another one. That's also cool. This barrel gives us an extra movement if we trigger that. That was that. And next, we can still take our hammer action. And you can do these in any order you would like. But if you have decided for either the boom or the hammer actions, then you have to do either all of the hammer actions before you move to the sword actions, or the other way around. In this case, doesn't really matter. So again, we can now build a bridge or survey a river. Again, in theory, we could go for a second river now with this hammer, but I really do think we should go for a bridge, because bridges could give us also a lot of end game victories. So this is 3 points for each building we build. This is 3 points for each barrels we have. So here we already have 2 barrels. This is for horses. This is for dudes. Dudes, that's kind of tricky in the end, because you're usually spending those. Money is also kind of tricky. Here we would gain points for guys at our graveyard, but right now we don't. Then in this case, you would say, let's go for graveyards, but doesn't really matter too much anyway. I think, I'm not sure how often I would take another barrel actually. It happened now several times, but I think having this for buildings is the better deal. So let's go for this, because we will definitely continue to build buildings. So we place it here accordingly. And again, these are 6 points at the end of the game. And right now we have 1 building build. That's 3 more points from here. All end game victory points. So every gold point is an end game victory point, and every blue point you are seeing is an in-game victory point. Okay, those were both of our actions. Let's move to Sam. She's at the Barker location, and for the common action, she's simply getting an extra horse. So she will also move further, and for her second action, she will simply go with the rightmost barrel here in this case. So that's a horse. She doesn't get the benefit. She simply takes the barrel. She can score those barrels later on in different ways. We are still adding 2 more outlaws here. So that's 6 versus 6, and that's not good enough. We have to outnumber them. But let's see what comes out. Okay, that's 3 more cards. And I believe I forgot to draw my cards, right? I totally did. Apologies. I mean, that was the whole idea going there. So that's the basically a buff or a boon for the Barker action. Not really fancying that too much. That can be okay. Here we have basically stables. That's good. That's a shovel action. I think that's really not too terrible. And another shovel action, getting extra gold. Okay, these cards are pretty cool, but I was really hoping for something else there. But I will take those anyway. Cool stuff. And we can spend those cards later on here at our horse ranch, for example. Okay, we will move back here accordingly. We will move into the final turn of this round. So we will trigger this one here twice. So in theory, we could now spend 1 gold in order to gain 3 victory points. Sam is the starting player. She will definitely do that. She will do that twice because she has a tent here. And she will spend her 2 gold coins. They will go to the card. And therefore, she will score 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 more points. Wow, that's pretty gruesome. Again, I could now decide if I want to do the same thing again, but I would like to hold on to my gold because I could still spend this gold down here actually. I believe I forgot to spend my dollars for the bridge, so we have to spend $4 for the hammer action at the bridge. Sorry for that. And we also, of course, have to spend 3 of our dudes for that. Apologies, but I called this now. So right now we are basically out of actions or out of meeples anyway. So getting there might not be the worst thing, or spending the golden now might not be the worst thing in the world because but we will get some extra meeples here. And then maybe, we want to hold on to the gold. Oh, that's so terrible. What are you doing to me, game? I would really like to pitch a tent actually, but that's also not gonna happen. So I think overall, yeah, that's really not great. That's really not great. No, I think I will hold on to the gold. Yeah, I think, yeah, let's hold on to the gold for now. That's fine. On the other hand, again, if we look at this one here, we could gain a gold, even if we would be, no, I think only if we would be second, we would get the gold back. Ah, come on. Let's make some points. So we will put this back into the card and score some actual points here. Okay, that's not too bad. So let's see. 1 and 4. Oh, I really wanted to go to location 4, but I think I will go there anyway. I think that's okay. Originally, I was really thinking of pitching a tent, but I'm out of tents anyway. And I cannot build stuff. I cannot survey stuff. Location number 1 is kind of meh. So I think, yeah, let's totally go to location number 4. And in theory, we really want Sam to show up there because then she doesn't get a lot of powerful action. She will still move her cart for sure, or her wagon for sure, but that's okay. But yeah, let's see what she does. And yes, she will join us. Amazing. Okay, that's not terrible. Again, doesn't really matter where Buster is going. So that's location number 2. But again, we're not triggering this. Sam, again, will go first. Remember, starting player. And I believe I misspoke earlier. She's not using her horses to ride there before we have these location tokens. I shuffle those, so let's see where she goes. So she will immediately move to Folsom. So the next time she's pitching a tent, she will do that in either of those locations. And then for each tent that you have pitched out in Frontier Town, you will get some extra victory points at the end of the game. For 1 tent, that's 3. If you are present in all of those different locations, you can only have one tent in each location. You will score up to 25 points. And that's really huge, believe me. Okie dokie, it's over to us. Again, she's not taking this action here because it's busted. Normally she would have gained 2 extra gold nuggets. So we now get to do either this one first or that one first. I believe we want to do this one here first actually because we could get some extra horses. Yeah, let's do that. So again, we will trigger all those wagon spaces, wagon actions here first. So we will spend 1 card, and I think I will get rid of this card here, the Foundry. We'll put it on the bottom of my deck here, and therefore we would get our 3rd horse. Cool, so we can now move up to 3 times. Then we have to take basically the standard action from the board. So we still have another card. So basically you're triggering all of those symbols. And right now we are now basically moving up to 3 spaces here. And this might not be a bad thing at all. So we'll move 1, 2, 3 spaces here. We get 2 extra dudes for that space. We will draw 1 extra card for that space here. That's the poker hole. Awesome. Well, that's a cool one. I think I really want to build this relatively quickly. I hope I can do that. That was the first action. Next, we can actually trigger this bust space here, because again, due to this horse wrench here, so we can spend 1 extra card to get another movement. And I think for now, what do we want to get rid of? Oh, these are all great actually. These are all pretty great, but I think I want to get rid of this here for now. Or should we? Let me see. That's another horse. That's a gold nugget. Ah, these are all great. Now let's get rid of this one here. So we have already some horses, and there's a way getting extra horses, so I think that's okay. So we get to get another movement action. 1, 2, 3. So we could make it to Auburn, and I think that's a good idea. So 1, 2, and 3. We get those 2 extra dudes here. So now again, we are swimming in dudes. And in Auburn, we could choose 4 extra dudes, or we could go for another tent or grab a tent. And having an extra tent might also not be the worst thing in the world. On the other hand, having 4 dudes is huge for any future shootouts and whatnot. And I think that's what I'm going to do. Seems to be a little bit lame, but again, getting tents sometimes it's not that big of a deal. So yeah, let's grab 4 more dudes. So I think we are now at 9. That's amazing. And that's pretty much the end of the turn and the end of the round. So the last thing to do is to deal with the shootout here. Again, they are even, which means we have lost this shootout. It's still not too terrible, but we have to look at the rightmost bottom. Right now, the neutral player is in the lead, so he would get this, but we are not dealing with that. This also means that Sam keeps the starting player token, also not so bad actually. We are the second player, we have 2 dudes versus Sam's only 1 dude, so we get 1 gold nugget. And we will score 1 measly victory point up there, but that's not too terrible actually, that's okay. And then we will pretty much replace this token, or this tile, and these could be the rewards for the next round. At the bottom of this one, this is always the same, that's printed on the board, so that's 10 points for the first players. Really being first in the last round is a big deal for sure. Then we will move into the next round. We will start the shootout space with 4 bandits instead of 2. Ours go back to the supply, but the one that Sam sent is really out of the game for good. It's, again, not a big deal for her. She usually has enough of those. We will remove 2 of those outlaws. Again, we will start with 4. We are not replenishing here the barrels. They stay where they are. We will return back here. So we will start from here. We will refill the gold nuggets there. 1, 2, 3, and 4. That's okay. And by the way, you can always trade in gold nuggets for coins. So if you ever need money, actual money, you can spend those gold nuggets. And depending on where we are on this row here, it's either worth 3, 2, or $1. So right now, each gold nugget is worth $3, which is definitely something. And I believe that's now really the end of the round. I really hope I haven't messed things up too badly. I will try to correct as much as I can in my next video. Maybe I will find something during editing. And yeah, definitely let me know if I played something wrong. Again, a huge shout out to all of my patrons out there. So if you want to support my channel, my show, you will find a link to my page on Patreon in the description of this video. It will pop up during this video. Like and subscribe, everything helps. And yeah, hope to see you soon in one of my other videos. And until then, bye bye.